Have you ever wanted to run your own proxy server? Well, here's a quick tutorial that will get you up and running doing just that. I've included a ton of pictures and hopefully all the steps you'll need to download and configure a proxy server using WIngate 6.2. I've set it up on Windows 7 here, since that's probably going to be most people's first choice of an OS, but I've run WIngate on XP and Server 2008 as well. I've started with a basic 1 IP, that's 1 NIC HTTP proxy. And that means if your current IP address is 12.123.34.234, then you'll be able to advertise your proxy as, for example, the 12.123.34.234:8080. And anyone who plugs that information into their web browser will appear to be making website requests from your IP. I've included a quick couple of pics for anyone that has an IP that changes often, if you've got PPPoE internet service, for example, on how to set up a free dynamic redirection account so you can simply run a dynamic update client in addition to WIngate and then advertise your proxy as, for example, myproxy.bounceme.net:8080. And virtually every program that uses proxies will accept the account name instead of your numeric IP. What I haven't included is how to set things up if you don't have a router between your computer and your modem. There are some really good security reasons to have a router in there, but the main reason I haven't covered that possibility is that the router keeps things constant over time. If your ISP changes the dynamic IP and gateway assigned to your internet connection, that requires reconfiguring some things if you are connected directly to your modem. If you're using a router, on the other hand, it's pretty much a non-event. Well, except that anyone trying to reach your proxy service using a numeric IP address isn't going to find you until you tell them your new IP. And even that problem can be solved using a dynamic redirection account like I mentioned earlier. First things first, we're going to want to get our hands on a copy of WIngate. You'll want version 6.2 if you're trying to follow this tutorial picture by picture. You'll likely need to purchase this, but I've heard tell of other possibilities. Any discussion of these alternatives, though, including members who might be willing to provide you invitations, if requested by PM, is beyond the scope of this tutorial. If you purchase a copy of this program from Cubic, it starts at $74.95. You'll see they are on version 7.1 at this point. Which parts of this tutorial might still be of use to you isn't 100% clear. Before we start, let's check what the name of our network adapter is. With Windows 7, that's Start and then Control Panel. Make sure View By is set to small icons. And then click Network and Sharing Center. You'll be selecting the network name later in WIngate, so let's click Change Adapter Settings now and check the NIC brand name just to make sure we pick the right one when the time comes. You may need to change the View By info to Tiles if you don't see most of the make and model info for your adapter. What we want to remember for later is that we're setting up local area connection. It's connected to network 2, and it's the VMware Accelerated AMD PCNet whatever. If you have multiple network adapters active in your system, now is the time to figure out which one you're going to be using for your proxy. In most hardware setups, there's only one local area connection enabled at a time, although it may be numbered 2, 3, or whatever. There may also be a wireless network connection and one or more virtual adapters enabled as well. If you only have one enabled local area connection, that's the one you want to use. If you have more than one enabled local area connection, it can be easier said than done to determine which one you want to use. WIngate actually supports multiple adapters, but that's a bit beyond the scope of what we're doing here. The problem is that when Windows sees several enabled local area connection adapters, it will pick one as the preferred adapter and use it to connect to the internet. Any other adapters that could be used are ignored unless they are specifically targeted. What you may want to do, at least for our single NIC proxy server described here, is to disable every local area connection except one. Then reboot Windows and see if you can reach Google with a web browser. If you can, then the enabled adapter is the one to use. There may be more than one local area connection adapter that will work when all the others are disabled, but as I was just saying, don't assume it's the one that's going to be passing traffic once you've enabled another local area connection as well. To disable or enable an adapter, just right-click and choose Enable or Disable from the menu. And remember to reboot before bothering to test if you can reach Google with your web browser, because Windows decides on the preferred adapter as it powers up.